we can go to the bank, to the office, to the school, to the hospital, to the commercial mall. It's because women have cleaned it, black women have cleaned it very early in the morning or quite late at night. And for me, it was to start from that question, who cleaned the world? And from then, why this work has been racialized and gendered. And then this will be perhaps the first terrain of transformation. My name is Françoise Vergès. I am from Réunion Island. I am an activist, a writer, an independent curator, and what we call a public educator. And I am 71 years old. Well, the Universal Museum was born in Europe in 18th century, exactly at the moment of the greatest number of Africans being deported from Africa. In the 18th century, which is the century of the French Revolution, the American Revolution, the English Revolution, where the declaration of all men are created, are created equal and remain equal. This is a moment when you have 70 to 90,000 Africans being deported every year. 17th century was 30 to 40. So the moment of the liberal revolution is also the moment of the greatest, deportation. And this is when the museum is born, at that moment. The museum is from the beginning a colonial institution. Its foundation are colonial. From the very beginning, what is called the museum, which was the Louvre at the beginning, is an institution that rests on looting and stealing, but pretend to be universal, to represent the world. The idea in Europe was, we European, we know how to preserve, what is to remain as the treasure of humanity. So we will take everything everywhere we go and bring it back to our museum, and that we will preserve them because we are the guardian of the treasure of humanity. So it rested on that idea of universality, but a universality thought from Europe, conceived by Europeans, so by a white world, which also brought a kind of art history, a kind of transformation of a statue, all the object of daily life into art, object of art. So all this process was a process of not only stealing and looting, but also of transforming living culture, really living culture, into dead object. And that model was followed by everyone in Europe and was imposed by Europe. I mean, Europeans built museums everywhere in their colony. And, in every colony you go, you have the colonial museum. And that model became hegemonic, is today hegemonic. All the museums which are built today, even in the Global South, are on the model of the Western Museum, which is the idea of under, the object being shown, you cannot touch it. It's a space of silence. It's a space where you have to hold yourself in a certain way. It's a space where you have a hierarchy of, in the training. So those who are in the direction, and then you have those who are cleaning the place, usually black women, and then you have the guardian, usually black men. So all this structure remain even in the Global South, even in country which want to be, which are post-colonial. How can we restitute the narrative of an enslaved woman from Mozambique? Because many were taken from Mozambique by the French or from Madagascar. And how we can restitute that journey that she has. And so it may be fragmented, but that's okay. That's okay. We don't have to follow the norms, the frame of the Western narrative that has to be complete, full, linear. It's going to be, yes, of course, fragmented, but that's okay. And we will use theater, performance, cinema, different technology, rather than just the object. So, no object. We don't start with the object, we start with the narrative. And this is what will be the museum. It's more to think about a living space rather than a space with objects. It starts from the people and the life. And so the post-museum for me is that I think that we are now in 2023, and we know enough about the museum, the Colonial Museum. We know enough about the memory and history which were erased or marginalized. We know enough about the limit of representation. That is not just the image that says something. We know enough about so many things that it's time to think about what will be the post-museum. How are we going to tell our story? How are we going to tell the story of struggles? And how do we make it a living space? A really living space, and people feel welcome. Most museums today, people don't feel welcome. If you're black, if you're young, if you're a veiled woman in Europe, you are not welcome. How do you transform the space in the fact that people want to participate, to contribute? They are part, they are a full member of that space. That, for me, the post-museum, I would say you have here and there practices that show what it could be, but we have really to engage in that work. Everything was decolonized. You know, everything was decolonial. The museum, the fashion, the advertisement, you know, it's like, no. Decolonization is a serious thing. People died for that. People risked their lives for decolonization. It's not a speech act. It's not a discourse. It's really a struggle, a practice. So effectively the washing by institution, because these institutions are always looking for, you know, something to fill up, you know, some new things to advertise, also to bring public. And so now decolonial is in fashion, so okay, let's do decolonial. Should we be able to sustain that thing through the long time? Or will we need to go to the billionaire or to the state? And then, inevitably, there will be condition at one point, inevitably. No power wants you to challenge them deeply to the roots. It's a constant negotiation with ourselves. What do we want? How do we want it? Are we remaining autonomous? The far right has invested a lot in that, the culture, right, and the cultural battle. And the museum is a target for them. So we are in a situation, I mean, we decolonial activists, we are in a situation in sometimes we have to protect the museum against the far right, even though we are critical of that institution. The university is not totally what we want. It's not a decolonial institution, but we have to protect the public university from the attack of the far right. Because if the public university disappear, what is left, you know? So it's a constant protecting an institution that we know have to, you know, being transformed and decolonized. They know that for years now, things have changed. Women, black, trans, gay have entered the public space, and I've said, this is not what we want. This is what we want. This is how we will speak. This is how we will write. This is how we will make image. And they are very afraid because they see it. They see it's threatening what they built as this white bourgeois patriarchal fortress. And so they react effectively. So what we have to see it also, of course, it's an attack, but also we have to measure how much they are afraid because they know that their fortress is being already, you know, fragile.